So chemists live in the same world that you live in. We're really ordinary people. And we have to, of course, undergo the same limitations that everyone experiences in society and nature, especially nature in this case. So we have something called a limiting reactant or reagent, which is a chemical reactant that limits the amount of product formed. And the reason why it limits it is because it runs out. It runs out. You have no more, it's consumed. So some simple definitions before we go over this very, very helpful analogy is that the limiting reagent gives, or reactant, gives the smallest yield of product calculated from the reactants available. And this smallest yield is what we call the theoretical yield. So it's kind of like looking at this example here. You want to, have a part-time job in a sandwich shop. And one very popular sandwich is always as follows. You have 2 slices of bread, 3 slices of meat, and 1 slice of cheese. That makes 1 sandwich. So it looks like a chemical equation. You see that? So, but here's what happens is you work one day and you notice that you have 8 slices of bread, 9 slices of meat, and 5 slices of cheese. So take a note of these. You have 8 slices of bread, 9 slices of meat, and 5 slices of cheese. The question is, how many sandwiches can you make? And do you have any leftovers? Believe it or not, the same thing applies to chemical reactions. Is you always have leftovers and you have none left for a substance. To solve this problem, let's look at how many sandwiches we can make. Very well. You can do it in your head, and if you do it in your head, you'll know based on the slices of bread and of course the slices of meat and the cheese. So if you have 8 slices of bread, the most you can make is 4 sandwiches. If you have 9 slices of meat, since you need 3, the most you can make is 3 sandwiches. And if you have 5 slices of cheese, the most you can make is 5 sandwiches. But do you know how many you are actually going to make? It's 3. Why? What runs out? Let's look over here. Here's the first sandwich. 3 slices of meat gone. Here's the second sandwich. Another, again, more slices of meat gone. 3. So that's 6. And here's what the third one. So you have 3 slices are taken out. So you're left now with 0 meat. But you have 1 slice, 2 slices of cheese left, and you have 2 slices of bread left. So one ingredient limited you, and that is the meat. This is called, imagine we call it, the limiting factor, which is the meat. That's the same idea, is in chemistry, you are limited by the number of products or the mass of product made because one of those reactants runs out. So here are some definitions. You have the theoretical yield is the amount of product in grams formed from the limiting reagent. Could be, by the way, calculated in moles like we learned before. So you should be, again, situated to do both. The actual yield is the amount of product that is formed in the lab. And you should know, by the way, we usually shorten these for TY and AY. You should always know that the actual yield is always less than the theoretical yield, always. The theoretical is the most you can make. In the lab, you always make less. Why? There are side reactions. Imagine with this bread, we couldn't even make 3 sandwiches. Why? Because, maybe 2 of those slices of meat, um, I don't know, maybe, an insect, something was walking on it, or they fell on the ground, on the floor, and you can't use them. The kind of the same idea here is things don't go as we plan, but of course, with more practice and with more experience as a technician, a lab technician or chemist, you can get to better results. So that gives us something called the percent yield. And the percent yield is when you take the actual yield over the theoretical yield times 100. So in the next problem, we're going to show you how to do this calculation. Next video.